Good evening. My name is Tasha Smutney. I am a double gold consultant and a three-time IATAN card holder. And one of the things I hear a lot from newer agents is that they get clients ghosting them or they give them a quote and then they never hear from them. Okay, so we're going to talk tonight about let's figure out where you might be going wrong that's causing people to potentially just end up ghosting you. Hey, Noelle. All right. So let's talk first. And I don't want anyone to listen and be like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? This and that. Don't take this personal. They're mistakes that everybody potentially could be making. But let's take a look at what we can do to minimize ghosting. There are always going to be people that we thought were ready to book, we're going to book, and it doesn't follow through. It doesn't matter how experienced you are in this business. It doesn't matter. It happens to me. It happens to, people who are booking, millions of dollars of travel. It happens to people. So don't ever take that personal, but let's figure out what we can do to make that as little as possible, right? So one of the biggest reasons, if you're getting a lot of people that you're like, I did the call, I presented a quote and they're just not booking. It's likely that you're not following proper procedures or not using that same process for all clients. So no matter who a client is, it's your best friend, it's your mom, it's your sister, it's a complete stranger. We want to follow the same process for all clients, no matter what. All right. And if we're not following a process, that's where things could be slipping through holes. We're missing things. We're misunderstanding something. And that's why we're not delivering on what they wanted. Or we missed something they told us that was a clue to they were never going to book with you in the first place. So don't do the work. Okay. So we're going to follow all the steps. We want to have that phone call to qualify our clients. We are getting on the phone. We're not going back and forth with email or text or messenger or any of that. Now, if it's someone you know personally and they want to meet in person with you instead of a phone call, totally fine. You want to do a Zoom call, anything, but it needs to be an actual conversation. This phone call to qualify. So let's talk about parts of that. All right. So, first of all, we're using the inquiry forms. That is not how you spell inquiry. Let me fix that. We are using the inquiry forms, and our inquiry forms can be found multiple places. So if we go on our team Facebook page, all right, if you go into guides, I believe they're under booking basics. Let's see here. I think they are. And if you go in and you're like, oh, I thought that's where something was, and you don't find it, guess what I can do? So there's a checklist here, travel booking checklist. Hmm, might not be in here. So here's what I can do though. Instead of the guides, I'm now in Wayfinders, and I can search inquiry form, cruise inquiry form, credit card authorization, right? They'll pop up. Also, Disney inquiry questionnaire, land inquiry, they will be in here. Just search inquiry and you'll find the forms in here if you have not already saved them to your computer. Now, the other place, now both of you are on my team, but in your gold start me guide, it's going to be in there. Now on mine, we all have a section that says important forms. All right, so it's going to be in the middle. I've got all the inquiry forms. Okay. So when we look at these, the next step is first of all, when we're using this, we're using the form as a guide. Get to know your client as a traveler. Don't just interview them. Have that nice conversation. Get to know them. They're going to reveal things as they feel comfortable talking to you and get all the information so there's no miscommunication about what they're looking for, right? That includes asking the tough questions on this form. You must get a budget. Budget determines what you can book. It is a tough question. And I've gotten used to asking people not, hey, what's your budget? Because then they're like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know, maybe 1,000, like $2,000, right? What is the most you're comfortable spending for this trip, either total or per person? I don't want to use your whole budget. I just need to know how much is available so that I know what I have to use if we need to, right? Remember, we want to assure the client we're not trying to max out a budget. We're just trying to get them what they want, and we need to know what we have to work with. And when we're talking all of these questions, it's we have your best interest in mind. So I need you to be open with me about everything. We need to know if they've priced that trip. Because if I'm competing against Expedia or I'm competing against some website, I want to know what my competition is. I want to know, is this somebody that if I come back with a quote that's $50 higher than something they found, are they going to give up the service I could provide for that $50 or not? You can get a sense of that in that conversation. Are they working with another agent? If somebody tells me they're already working with another agent, but they want to see if I can beat their price, I don't work with them. I'm not going to compete against another agent who likely has the same access I have. What I will say is, you know what? Out of professional courtesy, I want you to work with the person you reached out to first. However, if it doesn't work out with them, feel free to reach back out to me. I'm not going to compete with an agent. It's not worth my time, and most of the time, it's a 50-50 shot if they're going to book with me. So why am I going to waste my time for a potential booking that might not amount to anything? Because I'm not paid for my time, I'm paid for the work I do. Are they ready to book with you if you find what they're looking for within their budget? This is important. I'm not ready to book right now. I'm just trying to get ideas. Or, well, if you can beat what I found on the website, or if you this, like if they have stipulations to whether they're going to book with you, then I kind of weigh out, maybe this isn't the best working relationship, right? We have to be listening with a critical ear when we ask those tough questions to make sure we know whether this is a worthwhile effort or somebody that's going to end up ghosting me or say, I went a different direction. Because it's not always a ghost, right? I know I titled the training Ghosting You, but we want to make sure we're closing the sales, right? So the next part. So if you're not familiar with these forms, I suggest you get familiar before you get on a phone call, right? Know what's on here because sometimes a conversation causes you to bounce around, right? Remember, a new potential client is also some ways interviewing you, right? From the moment you get on the call for the first time, they're deciding if you're who they want to work with too. And if you're like kind of all over the place and you don't sound professional or you sound like you don't know what you want to ask, that may give a bad taste in their mouth. So get familiar with these forms so that what I do is now some people like to print them out and write. I typically just do file and make a copy for each of my clients and I label it whoever it is, whatever. And then I kind of scroll around if they say something and I'm not talking about that yet, I'm like, "Oh, let me get to that part," right? Okay. And I honestly, when any of these like yes or no questions, I'll double click it, their answer, and then I'll just do like a highlight so I know that was their answer, right? That's the template though, so I'm not going to keep writing on it. And then we do have, important things that show you care. Hey, do I need to worry about asking about food allergies, about medical considerations? Do you need a mobility scooter? Whatever the case is. Do you need extra leg room because you're really tall? Right? And here are some of those tough questions. When will you be ready to book? Are you the only financial decision maker? Do we need to have a phone call with it's multiple families going on the same trip together and we need to talk with somebody from each of those families? Right? Those are all important things. When we talk about this, do you want to put down a deposit and make payments, or can you pay in full at the time of booking? Here's why that's important. Because sometimes I feel like people don't realize why a question's important. Now, assuming there's enough time for a deposit and payments, can I go look on Evo Plus and potentially save them using a wholesale site and also get an instant commission? Or even RoomRes. Though now RoomRes used to be always pay in full, and now it's not. But sometimes there's a discount even on other sites. Sometimes Expedia Tap, it's less money to pay in full at the time of booking. So, hey, and then people often say to me, oh, if it's going to save us a good amount of money, we could make it work to pay in full. Now, there are some people that no matter what, they can't pay in full. And that's what it is, and that limits us. We can't go to Evo Plus or those types of things. But that's why that kind of question is important to find out, right? Because I might be able to find something that will save them $1,000, even making an instant commission. You just never know, right? So that's important to know. The next step in this phone consult, and I think a lot of people miss this because we just worry about, let me get the information, and we don't worry about, let me make sure my client understands how working with me is going to go, right? Explain your process to them. I'm so glad I got all this information from you so that you know now here's what I'm going to do, right? This type of trips, maybe it's a trip that I'm like, I could probably, I do a lot of consults on weekends. I could have this ready for you by the end of the weekend. A super easy consult, maybe. Or this is really complicated. I'm probably going to need at least a week to put it together. I'm booking for you with food allergies, and I have to call the resorts to ask about their food allergy protocols. Because even if it's a trip that I've already sent a client on, I've already sent somebody to that resort with food allergies, I want to make sure that their policies and procedures to make sure you're safe haven't changed. That's going to take me some time, right? Whatever the case is, I want to make sure that my clients know what work am I going to do? What are the other things that I do for services for them? All right. Hey, just so that you know, you're booking a cruise, it's likely going to be, or you're booking Disney, it's likely going to be the same price you'll find on the consumer site, but here's what working with me provides you. I will check you in for your flights. I will make sure this, whatever it is. You also want to let them know any fees you will charge. No matter what I put out there, people following my social media, people do not think that it costs the same or less to work with us. Well, there's two misconceptions actually. They think, ooh, I use a travel agent to get deals and discounts, which is not necessarily the case. Or it's going to cost me extra because they have to get paid, which we know is not the case either. I had to explain to somebody today who often books her own travel. She's like, so, well, how much of the trip cost would be your commission? And now I wasn't going to not be transparent with her. I said, I don't book a ton of Universal, but however, I can tell you, and they're also Disney people. I said, a package at Disney and it's similar at Universal. I don't know the exact percentage is Universal. I said, but different components are a different percentage. So, for example, at Disney, the hotel is a 10%, the tickets are 8%. I said, but you're not getting charged that extra. It's the same price. The difference is Universal keeps the money. They keep the commission if you don't work with a travel agent. If you work with me, the money comes to my small business, to me. People don't understand that. If I use one of my wholesale sites, I do charge a fee because there's no commission. I tell people that right in my consult so that they know what to expect from me. So they're not surprised when I come back and tell them pricing. I give them the timeline of what I'm going to do, and we schedule that follow up phone call to present the quote. This is just as important as getting the information because remember, they're trying to decide if the working relationship is in their benefit as well. Somebody's going to drop five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, $20,000. They want to make sure that the person they've contacted, who is potentially a complete stranger, has their best interest in mind. So let's let them know. Here's what you can expect working with me. That's just as important in the consult. And I think a lot of people miss it, right? Second, we have to give realistic expectations to the client. Now, I did a whole training on this, but we're going to touch on some things. This is very important. If the budget is not realistic, you have to tell the client that and then try to redirect them. I had a family member contact me. She has contacted me multiple times and not followed through and booked anything. She actually said to me, I feel a little embarrassed asking you again because I know we haven't been able to book anything we've asked you for yet. She told me that they want a 7-day all-inclusive resort, just the two of them. They're not bringing the kids with flights from Atlanta and transportation. She'd prefer to keep it under $2,000, not per person, total. Because when they went on their honeymoon 8 years ago, it cost them $1,700. The world is a very different place than it was 8 years ago. So I had to say to her, honestly, that's unrealistic. Because most trips now are a minimum of $1,500 to $2,500 per person, even for the lower budget resorts. So we're probably going to need to, and she did say potentially scale back the dates, the number of days. So we're probably going to have to bump it down lower amounts of nights and raise that budget a little, right? So we do want to be empathetic and we want to educate our clients to discuss this. This is a tough topic because we don't want to crush people's hopes and dreams of a trip. We want to show them what could be possible with the budget they have or where can we make compromises. I'm actually going to bring up some slides from my other presentation specifically about that part of it. Oh, it's not on the page I thought it was on. I had it on the page. Skip, skip, skip. All right. So that budget might not be realistic for what you're envisioning. Let's explore some other great alternatives that will give you an amazing experience, right? We can't get you 7 days for that, but we can get you 5 nights. Are you willing to compromise on that? Are your dates flexible so I can shop around? Those things. Sharing some samples, comparing things, offer a destination swap that might meet their budget. You know what? Aruba is not going to work with that budget, but we could definitely find something in the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, or Cancun for that budget. Are you willing to look at those destinations? I can still find you an amazing vacation that has all the same amenities as the resorts in Aruba. It's just a different island, right? We got to help clients understand the impacts of pricing. What is impacting the pricing? First of all, the dates. The seasonal travel dates impact things. You cannot get the same price Christmas week as you can other times. Depending where you live, school vacation weeks where the client lives impact everyone's cost of travel from that region. So that's a huge impact. Even if they don't have kids, they may not think about that. The distance they're traveling or the flights. Hey, are you willing to not do nonstop flights and have a connection? Because that can significantly lower the price sometimes. Sometimes by $500 or more. Is that an option for you? How popular the destination is impacts the price. That level of your hotel. Is it important for you to have luxury or is it important for you to have lots of activities? What's the most important thing so we can make sure the accommodation matches? Everything included or paying for everything individually? Now, remember, if I'm giving you an all inclusive, you're not paying out of pocket for all of your meals as you're traveling. So sometimes that price is higher because you don't have to account for additional spending money. People don't always think of that, right? And we want to use real examples to tell them, like, hey, I just priced a trip for this person or this, and this is what I'm seeing. Or even do a quick search on Vax or something while you're on the phone with them. Hey, I'm seeing pricing around this for the dates you're thinking so that they know ahead of time realistically what you're finding. All right, here's some just little scripts that I've used before. For a trip like this, the average cost is closer to $1,500 per person instead of 1,000. Would you be open to adjusting your budget or adjusting your destination or increasing the budget? Remember that if we're open and honest with them from day one in that initial call about the potentially unrealistic budget or hopes and dreams, they're going to trust us more. And when we come back with something, maybe it wasn't that dream they originally had, but it's something that's still going to be great, they're going to respect us more for that. And they're going to appreciate that we worked hard to find something that works for them. I love that you're dreaming big. That destination tends to be at a premium cost. If we stay within your budget, we could look at similar options like this, right? So those types of things, it happens in the initial call if they're giving you something unrealistic. But always with, be gentle. Don't be like, are you crazy? You can't get that. Don't say that. They're gonna be like, apparently you're crazy and you just lost a sale. Don't, think of how you word it and help them out. All right. After we've done the call, research quotes and match their travel goals and must-haves. Not, ooh, this looks great. I would love to do that. Great. I might love it, but it's not what my client told me they wanted, right? It could be great and fabulous for Tasha, Not so great and fabulous for Susie over here, whose trip I'm trying to book, right? Really listen to what your client has asked for and find what matches their goals. They really said to me that this is a must have. They said, I've got one that I have a quote ready and I'm waiting to hear back from them because they're waiting for their tax return, right? They want nature, but they also want some things to feed their adrenaline loving teenagers. Those are the two key things. They don't really care about anything else. So let me find that correct resort that's either close to nature or has nature right in it. And I have that resort for them. But I bumped them down a day or two to include an excursion for the four of them to the Explore Park at Xcaret, which has zip lines and cave snorkeling and all of these things, right? So that they can get everything they're looking for, with what was somewhat of a lower budget than what it would really be, right? Our next step is delivering all quotes over the phone. We are not just emailing out quotes. We're not texting them a price. We're not doing any of that because guess what? Now they have all the information to go book it themselves. And we don't want them to book it themselves. We want them to book with us. It's the second part of delivering that relationship. I listen, you're sending this message. I listen to what you're looking for, and here's why I picked what you want. I'm sending them pictures. I can even send them the itinerary and all of these things by email right when we're getting on the phone. But the phone is important, the call, the conversation. Hey, this trip includes the quiet spa-like environment that you were looking for. You said, you would really like an all-inclusive that's adults only, but you understood it was out of your price range. This resort has an adults only section. Your room would be in that section, and there's a pool in that section, and there's restaurants that only adults can go to. So you have that option of an adults only resort within the bigger resort. We made that compromise so it could fit your budget, right? Be excited about what you found them. I can't believe I'm so excited about the amazing thing I found for you, and you're going to love this because, right? Make sure in that quote call, we're giving all the information. I didn't mean budget, the total cost, how much the deposit amount is, and when the final payment due date is. Any fees, any fees that are being charged at that time. Hey, this total cost will include this many charges because I'm booking it in multiple places or whatever it is. They need to know that. Inclusions, what's included in what you're telling them? Does that include transportation? Are they private? Are they shared? Is it going to stop at other places? What does it include? And the timeline for getting the trip booked and your services for the trip. Great. You love this quote. You love this trip. Here's what happens now. I'm going to send you credit card authorization form, or I'm going to send you multiple credit card authorizations forms because we're booking with multiple vendors, whatever the case is. Here's what I need from you. I need everyone's passport pictures. My credit card authorization form is going to ask for a picture of that credit card. Whatever it is, here's what we need to do now to get this booked. And here's what I'm going to do for you after the trip is booked. Right after we book it, you should expect this evening or tomorrow a confirmation of your booking sent directly from me or directly from the vendor. Sometimes they're sent immediately from the vendor, right? Your trip is, your trip is a year away. in 6 months from now, we can start looking at excursions or we can do this. Like whatever my timeline is for what I'm going to do to service their trip. We want to let them know because I will tell you this. I have people I see all the time on social media sites, people complaining about a travel agent who booked their trip and they haven't heard from them since. I'm going to let you know when you expect to hear from me. I'm going to let you know what our process is leading up to your trip and what I do before they've actually, signed on the dotted lines and made that booking. Because this is going to help them feel more secure working with me as well. These are my final steps of closing the sale, right? Final steps of closing the sale. Now, it is very possible they might say, I'm not really sure that's what we want. We may have missed the mark somewhere. That does not mean this is over, right? Just because they say we don't want to book that does not mean, all right, whatever, we're done. Nope. We're going to ask for feedback. What about this isn't working, right? You may need to requalify the client at this point if they're just, you've talked to them and they're deciding not to book. Because we probably missed something in the initial consult or something changed, right? Either we missed something or they didn't tell us something or their information for you has changed. Maybe something happened, somebody lost a job. Maybe, they had an unexpected bill and they have to lower their budget. Many reasons you could have done exactly what they said, but something changed, right? So we want to be specific and ask them, let's find what you're looking for. What did you like about what I put together? And what didn't you like? Because I want to make sure I include what you liked and eliminate what you don't. Am I missing something from the package I created that you were hoping for? Oh, you really wanted a rental car instead of train transportation between locations in Europe. All right, we can change that. And then has something changed since we first spoke about what you're looking for? All right. This shows them that you are willing to put the work in for what they actually want. And you're open to feedback and criticism about what you did. Maybe you just misunderstood something they said and they didn't tell you something wrong. It just didn't come across right. Okay. It's okay to have to rework something or say, I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood that from you. I, I'm going to go back and fix that and actually find what that is that you're looking for. You didn't tell me you really wanted a lazy river, and that's like a must have. All right, whatever it is. Oh, you have to change the dates? We can make this work, right? Whatever it is, ask for that feedback. Again, this is a step that sometimes people forget. Now, the other thing, and I actually didn't put a slide in for this, but if you're not hearing back, they don't answer the phone when you're doing the quote, or you give them the quote and they say, you know what, I'd like some time to think about it. Great. That's totally fine. I completely understand this. This is, you're making an investment in this travel. Let me know if you have any questions or need clarification. Please remember that pricing can change until we make the booking and at least a deposit. All right, let's touch base in a couple of days. You don't hear from them. It's okay, like, hey, it's been a week. Send them something. Hey, I just want to check. Are you still interested in booking this trip? Right? It's okay to do that follow up, a week or so later. And then if we don't hear anything, we don't hear anything. There does sometimes come a point that we let it go if they don't respond, right? But something could have come up. Maybe there was a family emergency this week. Maybe, they're like, "Oh, I texted Tasha and she didn't respond." They forgot to hit send that says, "We want to book this," right? We do at least a follow-up a week after that presentation of the quote just to check. Sometimes I do have people come back and say, "Hey, you know what? We're not going to take this trip," or whatever the case is. All right. So I do want to open it up for questions. I hope that this kind of gave some different mindset or thoughts about it. But any questions we have, and let me actually check on Facebook as well to see if people are watching or have comments on there. I do not see any questions on Facebook, but any questions here before we close out? Questions, comments? No? And again, if you're watching the recording later, feel free, on the Facebook Live to type those questions in the chat or in the comments, I mean, and we will definitely answer those for you. Right. But I hope that this was helpful and hopefully it will help with making sure that we're following those proper procedures to better produce some closing of clients. All right. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great rest of your night. Bye, everybody.